Okay, let's take a look at this type of problem where we're trying to evaluate the tangent of the inverse cosine of 2/3. Now, this is not one of our common angle relationships, so here it is important to what? Draw a picture. I always like drawing a picture. So let's just make our coordinate system. Here's x, here's y. Now, we have, what does the inverse cosine mean again? Well, for which angle, so for which angle is the cosine 2/3? So now we need our right triangle, and remember what the definition for cosine is. It's adjacent over hypotenuse. So the angle theta, I can rewrite it, theta equals what? The cosine of 2/3. So now I'm labeling my right triangle. 2 is the adjacent side, and 3, of course, is my hypotenuse. So the inverse cosine of 2/3 is this triangle relationship. And based on that triangle relationship, now I have to find the regular tangent. And we all know the tangent is defined as what? Opposite over adjacent. So I don't have the opposite side here. So what I need to do is use the Pythagorean theorem again and find the opposite side. So let's call it opposite is equal to the square root of 9 minus 2 squared is 4. So the opposite side here is the square root of 5. Okay, now I can finish this problem. So the tangent of the inverse cosine of 2/3 is equal to, use my triangle, the square root of 5, opposite divided by adjacent over 2. That is how you find a regular tangent based on an inverse trig function. Let's take a look at this other problem here. If we're looking for the cosine of the inverse sine of 2x. Again, what does that mean? That means for which angle theta is the sine of 2x. Well, let's draw a triangle. Here's theta. Here you go. Now this 2x is actually over 1, and the sine is defined as opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite side to my angle theta is 2x, and the hypotenuse here would be 1. So the inverse sine of 2x is this triangle relationship. Of course, we have to find the cosine, which means we need the adjacent side. And for that, let's call it a squared plus the opposite side, 2x squared, equals 1 squared. I'm using the Pythagorean theorem. And let's do some magic here. 2x squared, 2x to the second power is 4x squared equals 1. Subtract 4x squared. Now let me write over here where I have more room. So a squared equals 1 minus 4x squared. Now to get a by itself, the adjacent, we need to take the square root. So the adjacent side in this case is a equals the square root of 1 minus 4x squared. There's nothing you can simplify. Please leave it. And here we go, 1 minus 4x squared. Now we can get the cosine. The cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which would be over 1. So this cosine of the inverse sine of 2x is equal to the square root of 1 minus 4x squared all over 1. I do not have to write that. Always important to draw a triangle and always get yourself some visual of the inverse relationship of whatever inverse trig function you're given. 2/3 in this case cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse, find the opposite, and here we had the sine. Draw a triangle, put the angle in there, label each side, and then find the missing side to answer whatever question that you may have.